Okay, so this is my 1776 design presentation. Beauty and fashion trends for that era. Men did not have a lot of fashion trends. It's expected to be plump, it showed wealth. Also wore elaborate clothing, also showing wealth. By the 18th century, wigs were significantly downplayed by men. They wore their natural hair mostly by the mid-1700s. Women had more beauty expectation or more beauty standards. They wore beauty patches. During the 18th century, smallpox was common, so a lot of women had scars. They would cover these scars with beauty patches in the shapes of stars or hearts. They would also use... The makeup was made from a mixture of lead and vinegar. They would cover the face with that, and it would give them a porcelain look. They would also tint their cheeks and lips with mercury. It was very dangerous, and it caused death. Some women died in 1927. They also wore elaborate powdered wigs, and they would powder these wigs with grey dust. Men wore bayans. It was a loose and formal. They also wore breeches. They would also wear coats as the uppermost layer. A breech was the garment. It was short pants, but it wasn't like a tights. Cloaks and cravats as well. A cravat was a neckcloth. They also wore hats. Hunting shirt evolved during the Revolution. A lot of hunting shirts had dye embroidered on them. Men also wore leggings to warm the lower leg below their breeches. Also wore a Monmouth cap. This was primarily worn by slaves and people in the lower class. And they also wore shirts as an socks was the most formal wear. They wore trousers. Drawers were a long undergarment. It was like a shirt that went to the knee. They wore shirts. Waistcoat was also known as a vest. If a man was not wearing a waistcoat or not fully dressed. Also wore wigs. Gown would be known as a Brunswick or a Jesuit. A Brunswick was a three-quarter gown. A Jesuit was a full-length gown. These would be worn when they went for walks or when they had housework to do. So it wasn't formal, but they still wore like a fairly fancy dress. They also wore caps when they weren't wearing wigs to protect their hair from dust. As a protective wear. A caraco was worn with a petticoat. To wear that and a petticoat would be informal. It would protect the neck and shoulder. Also wore gowns. Gowns were skirts that were joined together in the center, and you would see a split going down the middle, and the petticoat would be revealed in that split. There were hats that were flat at the top and wide around the brim. That would also be for protection from the sun. Coat was worn under a jacket or under a gown. Shift would be the undermost garment that a woman would wear. They would also wear stays. A stay would be the modern day version of a corset. If you weren't wearing one, you would be undressed, and worst case scenario, you would be considered as a loose woman. Stump was a piece of triangular fabric that was used to hold the gown together. A tuck was lace that was sewn around the neck of the gown, and it was for decoration or elaborate wigs. were used early based on effectiveness, some status. Status could be seen based on how well fitted a garment was. People had their measurements taken and their garments were brought from all over the world, from China, from England, India, and France by merchants. Sewed their own clothes. Fabrics that were used: satin, silk, lace, cotton, taffeta, linen. So this is my costume design for the play 1776. I have John Adams wearing a neutral brown color. It's reflective, slightly elaborate, but the neutral brown downplays how fancy it is. You can see him wearing his breeches, shoes, leggings, his sleeves. He's also wearing a powdered wig. And you can see ever so slightly chose this outfit for him. It's slightly elaborate, but it's not too elaborate. I think it reflects his personality, a strong personality. It's kind of fancy, but not overbearing. I also decorated Abigail Adams' room. She's wearing a gown. You can see her petticoat in the center. The gown is red and beige with red lace trims. I use red to signify her strong personality. In the first scene, you can see her having a mini argument with her husband John, who's asking her if she did, and she's telling him that she will as soon as he does what she's asked. So you see a little bit of her strong personality. I used the red color to depict that. She's also wearing a powdered wig. It's not too elaborate, but at the same time it's a little bit fancy. I also drew Benjamin Franklin. He's wearing black. It's very neutral, very downplayed. Benjamin Franklin is seen. He's not he's one of the main or major characters, also not just in the play but also in our history. I used the black for him because it's neutral color and because it's something that is usually seen depicted on Benjamin Franklin.